Good morning, children, and welcome back to the class of English. In this fifth part of the video for the chapter Evans trial in O level, we are going to move ahead as Evans had already escaped from the prison. All the prison authorities are confused, and Governor thinks that he had migrated from Haddington to Newbury or Wargrave. It was slight confusion. He rapped out his orders to the drivers, St. Aldate's police station, and step on it. Take Jackson and Stephens here, and where you get there, ask for Bell. Chief Inspector Bell. Got that? He leaped the stairs to his office three at a time, got Bell on the phone immediately, and put the facts before him. We'll get him, sir, said Bell. We'll get him, with a bit of luck. The governor sat back and lit a cigarette. Ye gods, what a beautifully laid plan it had all been. What a clever fellow Evans was. Careless, leaving that question paper behind. But then, they all made their mistakes somewhere along the line. Well, almost all of them. And that's why, very, very shortly, Mr. Clever Evans would be back inside doing his once more. The phone on his desk erupted in a sudden burst, and Superintendent Carter informed him that McClary had spotted Evans driving off along Elsfield Way, and they had got the number of the car all right and had given chase immediately, but had lost him at the Haddington roundabout. He must have doubled back into the city. So the governor was very angry at Jackson and Stephens. Evans had managed to conceal everything, and everything, even his clerical paraphernalia, spectacles, dark color, everything. And the governor was confused on the word New Graben. It seemed to him Newbury. So he asked his driver to take Jackson and Stephens to St. Aldate's police station and contact Chief Inspector Bell there. The governor then went to his office and phoned Bell immediately, and Bell promised that he will get Evans very quickly. The governor sat back and he lit a cigarette, and it had been a beautifully laid plan. However, it was carelessness of Evans to leave the question paper behind. The governor hoped to get Evans back with the help of the clues. Superintendent Carter informed him that McClary had spotted Evans driving off along the Elsfield Way, but he had lost him at the Haddington roundabout, and he must have doubled back into the city. No, said the governor quietly. No, he's on his way to Newbury. He explained his reasons for believing so, and left it at it. It was a police job now, not his. He was just another good for a gullible governor. That was all. By the way, Carter, I hope you managed to get McClary to the hospital all right. Yes, he's in the Radcliffe now. Really grouchy. He was when he got to the examination officers. They rang for the ambulance from there. The governor rang the Radcliffe a few minutes later and asked for the accident department. McClary, you say? Yes, he is a parson. Then the governor asked that Evans might be on his way to Newbury, and he asked Carter that if they had managed to get McClary to the hospital, and they said yes. Carter replied that he was in the Radcliffe then. A few minutes later, the governor rang the Radcliffe and inquired about the parson who came in their ambulance from Elsfield Way. I don't think there's anyone. Yes, there is. You will find one of your ambulances picked him up from Elsfield Way about. Oh, that. Yes, we sent an ambulance all right, but when we got there, the fellow had gone. No one seemed to know where he was. Just vanished, not a sign. But the governor was no longer listening, and the truth seemed to hit him with an almost physical impact, somewhere at the back of his neck. A quarter of an hour later, they found the Reverend McClary securely bound and gagged in his study in Broad Street. He had been there, he said, since 8:15 a.m., when two men had called. So when the governor rang the Radcliffe and inquired of the parson who came there in their ambulance from Elsfield Way, The governor was shocked to learn that the fellow had disappeared when the ambulance got there. It means McClary, who was hurt, who was helping the prison authorities to catch Evans, he had also disappeared. But a quarter of an hour later, they found McClary in his study in Broad Street. And he said that he had been there since 8:15 when the two men called. Inquiries in Newbury throughout the afternoon produced nothing. Nothing at all. And by the time tea, everyone in the prison knew that what had happened. It had not been Evans impersonating McClary who had walked out. It had been Evans impersonating McClary who had stayed in. The fish and chips were delicious, and after a gentle stroll round the center of the Chipping Norton, Evans decided to return to the hotel and have an early night. A smart new had concealed the wreckage of his closely cropped hair, and he kept it on as he walked up to the reception desk of the Golden Lion. It would take a good while for his hair to regain its former glories. But what the hell did that matter? He was out again, wasn't he? A bit of bad luck that when Jackson had pinned the scissors, for it had meant a long and tricky operation with his only razor blade the previous night. But he had his good luck. Too, just think, if Jackson had made him that take his bobble hat off. Phoo, that really had been a close call. Still, old Jackson wasn't such a bad fellow. One of the worst things, funny really, had been the beard. He had always been allergic to sticking plaster, and even now his chin was irritatingly sore and red. The children inquiries in Newbury throughout the afternoon about Evans fetched nothing. Then everybody in the jail come to know that it was not McClary who went out. Yes, it was McClary who went out. And Evans stayed in jail, bleeding and dressed as McClary. So, children, McClary only went out. He was accompanied by jail authorities, Stephen and Jackson, and even stayed in the jail. And he was dressed up as McClary. And then jail authorities took him to the hospital. Then Evans enjoyed the lunch at Chipping Norton. He entered the Golden Lion Hotel, and then he enjoyed everything. And his scissors had been taken by Jackson in the jail, and only with the help of razor blade he managed to do everything. It was a close call if Jackson had asked him to take off his hat. And one of the worst things and funny things which really was that he did not like the beard sticking with plaster. It was irritating and sore. The receptionist was not the same girl who had booked him in, but the change was definitely for the better. As he collected his key, he gave her his best smile, told her they wouldn't be bothering with breakfast, ordered the Daily Express, and asked for an early morning call at 6:45 a.m. Tomorrow was going to be another busy day. He whistled softly to himself as he walked up the broad stairs. He'd sort of liked the idea of being dressed up as a minister dog collar and everything. Yes, it had been a jolly good idea for McClary to wear two black fronts, two collars. But a top collar, phew, it had kept on slipping off the back stud. And there had been that one panicky moment when McClary had only just got his hand up to his neck in time to stop the collar springing apart from before Stephen's. They had got a little problem worked out all right, though a pen stuck in the mouth whenever the evil eye had appeared at the peephole. Easy, but all that fiddling about under the blanket with the black front and the stud at the back of the collar, that had, that had been far more difficult than they had ever bargained for. Everything else had gone beautifully smoothly, though. In the car he had found everything they had promised him: soap and water, clothes, the map. Yes, the map, of course. The Ordnance Survey map of Oxfordshire. He had got some good friends, some very close friends, clever friends. Christ, how. The children, the receptionist at the hotel was not the same girl who had booked the room for Evans, and Evans knew that next day he would have to get up early because it would be again a busy day for him. The children, after a gentle stroll round the center of the chipping Norton, Evans returned to the Golden Lion Hotel, and a smart new hat concealed his hair. His chin was irritating, sore and red because of the beard he had to stick with plaster. He gave instructions to the receptionist, smiled at her, and went to his room. He was shocked to find the governor sitting on his narrow bed. So, McClary, helped the McClary or the invigilator who came to examine or to invigilate Evans was his friend. And once it happened that the black collars in front, it was going to slip, but McClary held up his hand to support it, and holding a pen in the mouth was a sign to indicate that someone is peeping through the peephole. He unlocked his bedroom door and closed it quietly behind him, and then stood frozen to spot like a man who had just got a glimpse of the garden. Sitting on the narrow bed was the very last man in the world that Evans had expected or wanted to see. It's not worth trying anything, said the governor quietly, as Evans's eyes darted desperately round the room. I have got men all around the place. Well, there were only two really. But Evans didn't know that. He let the words sink in. Woman, too. Didn't you think the blonde girl in the reception was rather sweet? Evans was visibly shaken. He sat down slowly in the only chair the small room could offer and held his head between his hands. For several minutes there was an utter silence. The children, when Evans returned to his hotel and gave instructions to the receptionist, as he entered the room, he was shocked to find the devil in front of him. Yes, children, it was the governor who was sitting in his room. And then he had no choice to stay there. The governor told Evans that it was useless to try anything. He had got all men round the place, women too, and Evans was shaken. And Evans had no choice. And the governor then commented, didn't you think that the blonde girl in reception was rather sweet? Actually, and maybe she was an informer of police, or she helped police. She gave tip to police about Evans. And then now Evans was in the hands and at the mercy of the governor or the god. Actually, the governor was God right now for him. So children, that's all in this part of the video. Rest part and the last part will be continued in the forthcoming video. Till then, thank you and goodbye.